Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, Coach Vic. Glad to be here with you. Today, we are going to talk about how to find an area that you can invest in. I get it. A lot of people are new to the game, or even if they're not new to the game, they were spoon-fed information that probably wasn't great to find an area. And now that they're trying to branch out on their own or level up or just make more money, they don't know what to do. So perhaps you actually sent out a mailer and you got 0 responses. We'll talk about that. Maybe every place that you go to, the land is crap and you're not sure how to find something that you can afford, but it's still going to help you make money so you can actually achieve what I call escape velocity, meaning you're making enough money for the business to feed itself and you're making so much money that you're just piling on and piling on and piling on, and that velocity is going to help you to quit your job if you choose to do that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. What's up, Tram? How you doing, baby? It's been a while since I've seen you. So this one is going to be a big one. So make sure you guys ask questions as I do this, because I do plan to do this live if I have enough time. If I do not have enough time, unfortunately, I won't be able to do it live with you. But before I can do it live, let me make sure that we have some ground rules. And first, let me share a quick little story to kind of demonstrate why this is so important. So there was once a young man who was looking to invest in land. And like everybody else, once they hear about how great this business is and how abundant it is, people want to get in on the action. Great. The more, the merrier. Everybody's welcome. So this person does what a lot of people does. They go to the internet, look for free sources. They try to cobble together information. Perhaps they found a list of the hottest counties out there or something like that. And like, oh, okay, great. The work's been done for me. Let me just choose that county. And oftentimes these counties are in the middle of the desert or just someplace that's not necessarily desirable for the majority of Americans. And therefore, those properties are easier to acquire because not many people want them. So the people who do own them, they're looking to sell them. They don't mind giving away for cheap. They just want to be rid of their headache. So this young person actually goes and buys one of those properties. And they're like, great. You know, it took a while. It took a lot of work. I'd sent out a couple of mailers that got no responses. And I finally got a property in my name. I didn't pay much for it. I'm very excited. Great. Now, the person thinks like, how am I going to sell this damn thing? And then so they put it on the market. They do what's common, put it on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and the like. Sure, they get a lot of people claiming to be interested, but how many of those people actually go to the property, check it out, to actually look to purchase it with serious intent? Not many. It doesn't take long for this person to get discouraged. 3, 4, 5 months go by and they're still holding on to this lot and they have no clue how to sell it. Well, today, I'm going to help that one young individual out. Because listen, that scenario is so common. Like people call it trying to sell desert squares. Well, I like to say you got stuck with a desert square. You got fooled, tricked, bamboozled, run amok, led astray, because you bought something that nobody really wants. That's why you got it for so cheap, not because you were a shrewd operator, it's because you got someone property that no one wants. Now, don't get me wrong. You hear me say this once, you'll hear me say it a million times. All land sells. But wouldn't you like land that sells a lot faster than 6 months? Wouldn't you rather sell land for cash as opposed to getting tiny little wimpy payments every month? Having to chase down a prospect because they haven't paid you for the last month or two, and the monthly payment is what, $100, $200, something really small. Wouldn't you rather, instead of selling that property for 100 down, 100 a month for a million years, sell it and just get $10,000 in cash? How would your life be different if you can get at least one deal where you're just making $5,000 in sales, just $5,000 every month? How would you feel? How would your life change? So that's what we're going to talk about. And the beginning of all of that is actually finding areas to invest in. All right. So with that said, there are some ground rules that we have to cover, because in order to find an area, you can't be a wimp and give up just because it didn't work right away. Show of hands, how many people tried something very new for the first time and was an instant master at it? Even though I'm looking at my screen, but I'm imagining I'm looking out to a sea of people, I don't see any hands up. That's just not how it works. Everything you do, you're going to have to put in effort. You're going to have to try. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to fall on your face a few times, but eventually you will succeed. Now that eventually doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be months. That eventually could mean, oh, it just took me a couple of days to get it, but now I got it. 2 days, 3 days. It's not like 24-hour days. You tried it for an hour to one day, like, it's not working. I'm not getting it. And then you try for an hour or two the next day, a little better, but I'm not getting it. And then maybe 30 minutes the third day, oh, I finally got it. It clicked in my mind. I understand. Now I can do this for the rest of my life. That's what eventually could mean, or it could mean months. It depends on you, the time you dedicate to it, and how important this is to you. So I have to go over that because a lot of people, they want the rewards without putting in the work. So I just got to make sure I say that. Now, here's a good thing. Doesn't take long, or you don't got to be a master to actually make money in land, right? Good enough is a short trip away from where most of us start. So we just got to go in there. All right, so check it out. Check it out. Now, before we pick an area, I would like you to follow along with what I do. Again, if I have enough time, I'm actually going to share my screen and do some other shit. But right now, I want you to think about this. One, what is your starting budget? What do I mean by starting budget? Well, how much do you have to invest right now? Now, you don't need a ton of money, but I will warn you, the more money you have, the more options you have. As always, I think that's pretty self-evident. Now, if you're starting with a small amount, and a small amount is basically $500 or less, not that you can't get property, but you're going to be very limited to where you can buy. You're going to have to put in a lot more legwork, and I'll explain that in a moment. So write down your starting budget, or at least have it in mind. You guys got it? Okay, good. You next, and this is important. A lot of people overlook this one fact, but you need to have a target income. Now, it doesn't mean that let's say you start with a small target, or excuse me, a small starting budget, and you have this giant target budget that you don't have to find this magical piece of land that's going to fulfill it in one flip. No, that's stupid. Don't be stupid. What you will do, that means, okay, I just got to take it step by step. It reminds me of a saying or a joke. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So if you have a small budget but you have a big goal, you got to take it one bite at a time, one step at a time. All right. Now, why is the target income important? Well, number one, you got to understand how your brain works and how human psychology works. If you are just doing something, there's no end in sight, it's very easy for your brain to like, this is stupid, I quit. I don't want to be doing this forever. Unless you find the whole process of pushing paper inherently enjoyable. In that case, you might just do it just for the fun of it. But most of us don't find it enjoyable on that sense. We enjoy the freedom that it gives us and the power that it gives us. But the actual act of contacting people, negotiating the price, figuring out ways to transfer the property and doing that and all that, that part's not necessarily fun for anybody. It's not necessarily a pain, but it's just not fun either, right? There's other things you probably would rather be doing. So you need a target that's going to help you stay focused. The target will also, and perhaps could help you also pick an area depending on what that target budget is, or excuse me, that target income is. So think of it right now. You have your target, you have your starting budget. What is the amount of money you want to make? An example could be this. I want to make $10,000. I want to do it in 90 days. Okay, boom, that's your income. It's your income target. Maybe you want to make $20,000 or $25,000 in 90 days or 6 months or something like that. Okay, that's what it is. Doesn't matter what you start from, but it matters where you're going to end up. Now, depending on where you start will dictate the path to how you end up where you want to end up. So that's why it's important. Now, in general, these things must be aligned in some sense, but at the same time, again, if you understand, hey, I'm starting with a small amount and I want to make a large amount, you'll have to break it up. So it has to make sense. So let's just say your real target income is $25,000, but you're starting with $300. Well, obviously 1 or 2 or 3 flips probably ain't going to get you there. So if you're targeting and your starting budget is too big, pick something realistic. So if you're starting with 300, maybe your target should be $2,500. So you went from 300 to 2,500. Let's just start, do something like that. And that way you can actually have something to shoot for. Even though the real goal is that larger number, we got to take what is step one. We got that? Got it? All right, good. All right, moving on. Now it's time to start our search. Be excited. The first thing you want to consider and it's funny, is even though it's the first thing you want to consider, it's optional. You want to be near a growth market. What's a growth market, you may ask? Well, in reality, you can just look at what a lot of other real estate investors do, especially guys looking for rental properties. Generally speaking, it's just market with strong job growth, or maybe just an increasing population. Usually they do go hand in hand. Or maybe you get like information that the rents are rising. Usually rents can rise because there's more demand for housing. So in other words, there's a lot of people in the area. Now, don't get me wrong. We're not looking to invest in vacant land in these big places, but we want to be adjacent to those big places. Why? Well, think about it. There's a lot of people in one space. They're going to want their own space to hang out, kind of like, get some room, build their own house. Maybe it's for recreational purposes. It's not to build on, but regardless, they're going to want to be somewhere near where they live and where they work. So we want to be the people who have the land. Also, there's another angle to this. If you are targeting people who build homes or other types of developers, of course, they're going to be where the action is, because they know they're going to sell their properties quickly that way. They know they're going to be able to get top dollar that way. So we want to have property for them to actually use, whether you're buying big lots so you can take it, subdivide it out, or you're just buying already plotted lots that the subdivision was going to be a thing at some point, maybe in the 70s, and it just never happened. Either way, if you're near these growth markets, you're going to be good. Now, reason why that's optional, because that's not always realistic for everybody, right? If you're starting from that tiny ass amount, all the growth markets that you come across, maybe the starting budget, or excuse me, the starting figure that you're going to need is like maybe $5,000. So it's not going to be realistic. However, you can still use that growth market, that area, to kind of begin your search. Okay, so far so good. You guys got it? Now, how do you find a growth market? Well, one way is, again, if you have access to information like, population growth, job growth, all this other stuff, then you already know that. But if you don't, just Google it. There's a bunch of lists out there from your favorite websites like Zillow, Redfin, different rental agencies, things like that. They'll tell you what the top rental markets are, or the top growth markets are. You can also use the US Census to see what populations are rising in what areas and where they're not rising, things like that. That can help. Now, if you don't want to do the growth market, because listen, I made most of my money in places far from growth markets, that's okay too. But understand, your timelines of buying and selling will be different. You also may not be making as much money per plot or per flip than you would if you were near a growth market. It just depends. There's a couple of rural areas that are in the middle of nowhere that are hot because what people are allowed to do with their property. So, growth market is not everything. That's why I say it's optional, but it does help a lot of people feel a lot more secure and at ease with their investment. All right, moving on. After you pick your area, make sure there's sales activity, because it's one thing to say, okay, I want to buy a property near Denver, and you pick an area maybe an hour and a half away, drive from Denver, and you're like, okay, this is going to be good enough. And then you realize no one's buying or selling in that particular area. So you got to make sure there's sales. How much sales? It just depends on the area. But how do you know if there's sales? You got to go to your favorite websites again, Zillow, LandWatch, Redfin, etc. How many people are listing property? How long have these properties been on the market? When you're in places like Zillow, can you see how many views they are? And yes, you can. And we'll go over that soon. Next. Make sure the property that you want to get or the area that you're investing in, so the properties that you want to get, they're supported by your budget. What do I mean by that? Well, going back to our low ball example, if I only have $300 to invest, which is pretty much nothing, I'm looking at property that's going to retail for roughly 4 times that amount, probably more for 300. 300 is a real, damn, that's going to be hard. Let's use a different number. Let's use 1,000. Let's just have 1,000 to invest. That means I should be looking at properties that are retailing for about $4,000. Realtor, Reginald, I don't know. Sometimes it depends on the realtor, because in my opinion, when you're looking at growth market, you're trying to find that information out. Not all realtors are created equal. In fact, it doesn't take a lot to become a realtor. So perhaps they will actually have the information that you need to find out where the growth markets are. But a lot of times they're mostly in their own general area. Where us as land investors, we're not restricted to any area. The whole country is open to us. So that's why a realtor is like, yeah, maybe. Not saying that they won't, but I wouldn't be. I mean, unless you're a realtor and you have access to one, they can let you use their special tools, the MLS listings and things like that. I wouldn't necessarily go for a realtor. Hopefully that answers your question. But anyways, making sure our budget supports where we want to invest. So if I'm looking for an area and I see property or something for $10,000, I only have $1,000 to invest, it doesn't support it, because in general, the money you have, you multiply it by 3 or 4 will be what you can be able to sell on the retail market in general. So I'm going to find areas that support that. Where am I finding properties that sell for $4,000, $5,000? Those are the areas that's going to support my budget. So I know when I start contacting people and I give my offer of $1,000, they're going to be more likely to take it, because that's what the market supports. So if your property, or excuse me, your budget and the area that you're currently looking at right now don't align, that's fine, right? You just adjust a little bit, move a little further away from that growth center or wherever you started from, and then go from there. All right. Now, once that you find something that works, like, all right, I found a county, I have $1,000 to invest. This place that I'm looking at market prices now, people are selling for $4,000 or $5,000. A lot of people seem to be interested in property at that price. Great. I'm going to jump into this game too. Wonderful. The next step is to make sure now you can actually have you have a county that is going to be easy to work with, meaning their webpage will have, information that's readily available, the public knowledge stuff, the public information stuff. It's easy to parse and use. If you ever need to make a phone call to them to find out the planning and zoning is there, or you can easily look up that information, things like that. You're not going to necessarily get your list from this place, but it's just giving you an idea of what you're working with. Not to mention, it can give you a clue as you're kind of browsing their different county websites, different rules, different things that they're excited about, where it is, all these other things that you won't know from just looking at, retail sites. So to backtrack, we found a growth market that we like. We found an area around, 30, 45, 90 minutes, 2 hours away. We found an area that's going to support the budget, our starting budget that we have. We have sales activity. We're excited. We look at the county website. They're going to be easy to work with. All the rules and stuff are easy to find, all that good stuff. So now we got to make sure that we're not in too deep, meaning the competition isn't too fierce. When you're experienced, it doesn't matter. You just up your marketing, just be better. But when you're new, I recommend, you can do what you want, you're an adult, but I recommend that you actually start to find areas that are less competitive. Because I'm sure a lot of you guys, and I've mentioned this earlier, you sent out a mailer and you got no responses. You sent out another mailer, more dead air, right? You jump to another area, and an area probably picked with another one of those hot counties list, more dead silence, all right? What's probably happening is one or two things. One, your offers are terrible, and they're like, I'm not paying this. You're too far off base where people won't be entertained a phone call with you. Or the competition is so fierce that those owners are just thinking they have some gold on their property, and they're just waiting back to see who gives them the highest offer. It could be a combination of the two, right? So when you leave the areas that are full of competition, you will get more deals and you will pay less for those deals, because the owner just like, okay, it's the only letter I got. They're not thinking that they have anything valuable. They're like, oh, this land's a piece of shit. I've been trying to get rid of this for years. I just didn't think a realtor would want to deal with it. You get a postcard, they get your text, whatever it is. They're like, oh, thank God. Or you know what? I didn't even think about this. I forgot I had it. Maybe I should sell it. Either way, because they're not thinking about it, or they're worried that they can't sell it, you can get the property for much cheaper that way. Just make sure it fulfills those other requirements of their sales activity, things like that. All right. Now, so we make sure we get property compare growth market. Once you can do that, you can build a list, use your favorite tool, prop stream, data tree, build it by hand, whatever. Bonus points if you actually go and find all the tax delinquent people and hit them up first, because they're going to be more likely to sell at a low price. Or people who just inherited the property because they probably don't want it. They don't live in the same state. They're never going to use it. They're just going to start paying property taxes on something that they never heard of until their grandfather died. They'll be glad to sell to you quickly, but you might have to do a little work to do the transfer. All right, got a couple minutes. So let me actually share my screen with y'all and show you how I get started. We won't have enough time to do the whole thing because sometimes it'll take me 15 minutes to find a new area. Sometimes it'll take an hour. It just depends on how picky I am. All right. But if you guys know me, you know my favorite place is Zillow to get started. I love it because it's just so easy to find metrics that help me understand what I'm dealing with. All right, so let me share my screen. Hopefully you guys can see it. I'm gonna assume you can. So I'm gonna try Boise, Idaho. I ain't the hoe, you the hoe. All right. Now, what you want to do is number one, make sure we're looking at home type. We don't deselect everything. We just want lots of land. Boom, done. All right. Number two, we don't care about how new these listings are. We want to know what the cheapest price is. Why am I doing that? Because, well, as a consumer, a lot of people will, what do? You guys look for the best deals. You go to Amazon, you don't try to pay the most expensive price. You try to get the best deal. Everybody's doing the same thing. That's how people are ingrained when they're shopping online. This is no different. Now, inside Boise, this is a hot market right now. Hot growth market. What are you going to do to find property? Well, obviously, these lots inside the city, too expensive. So what I like to do in this situation, I remove the boundary. And I look at all these different plots of land for sale currently. Where do you think the sales activity is? So here or here, right? I'm just going to randomly pick a direction. Let's go west. Okay. And I'm looking at the listings here populate. These are all very expensive. Let's zoom out a bit so we can get a bigger bird's eye view. Let's go a little bit north. Let's go a little bit north. Again, I'm picking random directions. I don't have any rhyme or reason. I'm just trying to see the layout of the land. I started from a super hot market, Boise. I'm like, okay, what's around? Now I'm more than an hour and a half, 2 hours away with how much I zoomed out, but that's okay right now. I'm just getting an idea of where I can invest, right? Because I do know, like, with all these things for sale, there's activity going. In fact, let's look at this one for 38,000, meaning I can probably pay 10,000 for that property. It's been on the market for 18 days. Look how many views it already has. Look how many saves it already has. All right. Granted, damn, that's a big price cut. 2.5 acres. I don't know if this is an industrial or is this all residential? Somebody already subdivided it, whatever, right? Just getting an idea of what's going on here. Get an idea of what's going on. Okay, very interesting. Very interesting. And this one is for 65,000. It's an acre. Look at all these views. It's been on the market for 104 days. In the last 30 days, it's got 898 views. Pretty good, 34 saves. This is telling me people are interested in this area, which is obvious. Again, Boise is a growth market. None of this is surprising, right? Maybe I like this area a little bit and I want to see a little bit more and I want to narrow down. So I would just draw a little circle around like these towns. It's a big area. I'm zoomed out a lot, but it's a big area. Apply. What comes up? Maybe these are outside of your budget. Maybe they're not. It just depends on you, right? So I do this over and over again, over and over again. Now, let's just say, let's remove the boundary. How much time we got? A couple minutes, we're good. Let's just say I went to Luna, New Mexico. Los Lunas. Let's just say, because I'm like, oh, Albuquerque, that's a growth market. It's not. But let's just say I thought it was, or like Albuquerque or just New Mexico is one of those places where a lot of people want to get started in land investing. And if I come here and I see these retail prices, you know what this tells me? Nobody wants these properties. These are not good retail prices. Now, these properties just came on the market. This one's been on the market for about a month. A lot of views. A couple of saves. The price is cheap. Most likely this person, hopefully they got it for under $100. But I don't know about you, but I'm not gonna go through all this work just to make a net profit of $900. Net profit, $800. Too much effort. Also notice 237 real estate agents are listing land at this here. Look how much they're all within that same price range. How are you going to stand out from the crowd from all this junk? I'm going to let you know you're not. Is there any difference between this property and this property? Nope. Look how long it's been on the market. Any difference between these? Nope, 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 nope. They're all the same. Desert squares. Avoid these. Start with the growth market and move from there. Now, let's just say you started here and you're like, this sucks. I don't want to do it. You can do the same thing I did. Remove the boundary. Let Zillow repopulate the search listings. Okay, a little bit better. A little bit better. I like this. That means you're buying this property, this half an acre property, for roughly $1,000 or less, and you're making $5,000. I'll do this for $4,000 net profit, right? But look how long it's been on the market. Hasn't got that many views for the last 30 days. Not terrible, but not great. Maybe you don't like that area. Keep moving the map. Now you notice how imprecise this is, as in I'm just kind of checking. I'm starting from a good starting point, and I'm finding something that will fit my budget or what I like personally. That's just how it is. You got to understand, we're out here hunting for investments. It feels so easy to find a profitable land. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, this is easy. It's not like I'm thinking hard or it's going to take a ton of time. I just, a little bit of time. But it's not like if it was just given to us, everybody would be a land investor and everybody would be rich. So how much work do you want to put into actually making sure you do this properly? So you're not stuck with one of those desert squares that you got to sell for $900. So let me check any questions out there. Because once I start on Zillow, why is Boise hot right now? I don't know. I don't ask those questions. I don't really care, to be honest. I do know from anecdotal conversations I've been hearing, people like the area, especially a lot of people from California, where I'm from. They just can't afford California, so they're finding a nice place to live that's not too expensive. Boise was nice. I know there's some job growth happening there. So again, it falls within that. So I can only guess though. I can only guess. I don't really know. And as I said, I don't really care. But yeah. Any questions, anybody? Because I'm pretty much out of time right now. Well, hopefully you found this useful. Hopefully you understand. Yeah, see, a lot of Californians are moving to Boise. Yeah. So hopefully you guys found this useful and interesting, because doing that activity, you should only have to do it once a month, maybe twice a month, to have like a nice little backlog of counties and you can go to. You don't have to sit down and make it super serious. As you're watching television or something, watching the NBA finals, go Warriors, maybe you're doing this during commercial breaks, or as you're kind of casually doing it on your phone, noting like, okay, this area seems pretty cool. Let me look into it a little deeper later. I have 5 people that have moved there. Wow. A lot of people are moving to Boise. When I was in high school playing basketball, our point guard played at Boise State. It was pretty cool. They had that blue football field and everything. And yeah, but anyways, yeah, that is it. So if you guys have any questions, you guys know what to do. If you need help finding areas or something like that, hit me up. I can probably help you out. But other than that, it's your boy, Coach Vic. Glad to be here with you. Hopefully you guys start finding some properties. Stop making excuses. All right.